This episode contains sensitive content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here for another conversation. Like always, I'm here with my co-host, Trinity. Hello.
Greetings.
And today we also have someone on the podcast that neither of us know, but we're happy to get to know a little bit more. And his name is Josh Morton. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, one of the reasons why we have new ones on here is because we feel like they've been through a pretty similar experience. And Josh has been. He also grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. And, one of the things that intrigued me about having him on is he wrote about his experience. So he does have a book that he's published. And the book title is Jehovah's Fucking Witnesses, a book a book for adults about religious trauma, mental health, and how to move on. One of the things I really liked about your title, not only the first half, these fucking witnesses, man, but I think the other half too is, I think one of the central themes that Trent keep having when we're having people on here is to talk about some of the trauma that we experience in all ways, shapes, or forms, but also kind of the mental aspects and how we kind of recover and we move forward. And so that's kind of what intrigued me about your book title as well. So yeah, so we'll dive into a little bit more, but I'm sure a lot went into the title.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate that. It's funny. That was really what I was thinking about when I made the title. I put the F word in there for so many reasons. I actually talk about it in the book. Like I have a few different reasons why I included it in there. And I'm sure you guys can relate because we were not allowed to swear growing up. Right. And so for me, like that was one of the main reasons I included it, but also like you guys, your reaction, that's the reaction I always get when I tell people the title. They're like, oh, that's good. I really wanted it to grab people's attention, but also at the same time, anybody listening can't see my video, but you guys can see it. I have had a smile on my face this whole time. I'm not an angry person. And I feel like it's important that people understood that going into the book that like, hey, yeah, I'm dropping the F-bomb up here, but this is not just like an angry rant from somebody who used to be a Jehovah's Witness, which that's okay, right? If someone's in that phase where they're angry after they left, a lot of people are. But for me, that was not why I wrote the book. It was meant to share my story. And I also wanted it to be helpful, right? I wanted it to be something that someone could read and like actually pull something from and go on to live a better life after having gone through all that stuff.
Yeah, I have two thoughts in my mind. One, I swear a lot more now, and
more.
I remember,
so you used
to only a little bit. I definitely didn't have a big, swear mouth, foul mouth or anything. But
yeah,
I do remember instances where I've been in management a long times, and I've always like, oh, I didn't want any of my employees swearing around me, and I kind of created this mindset of like that's not professional or different things, and obviously in certain situations, clearly it's not. And now I'm completely different. I'm like, I have, employees around me, friends around me, people around me. And it's like definitely more my authentic self as I kind of took down some of those walls and years of control.
Totally.
It's funny because I feel like I'm on a bell curve. Like I was zero cussing and then like totally all the way cussing. And now I'm coming back down to like hardly ever.
Well, what do they say about comedians? Like, swearing makes it easy.
Yeah.
When you kind of present something to give that extra punch and you throw a swear word in there, it's like you're just being lazy. So maybe you're somewhere there, Trent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed like some people, because I post a lot about my book on TikTok now, and I get a lot of comments from people. Well, not a lot. I get a few every once in a while from people who are like probably active JWs or something, and they're like, "Why do you have to swear? Why are you saying it like that?" And there was actually, there was one who just commented recently who's also EXJW, who said, "Well, you don't need to swear to get your point across. It's just not necessary." And I was
Mm,
like, man, that's such a JW carryover, right? Where you're like,
100%.
bro, it's
Yeah.
not about what's necessary. That's like saying like, oh, you don't have to eat pizza to survive. It's not necessary. You're like, of course it's not fucking necessary. I just like pizza.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, I don't need to swear. I'm not swearing to get my point
Yeah.
across. I'm swearing because that's what I do in real
I'm
life.
allowed to. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The other thing that comes to mind too is I guess it's interesting. What is the pull in driving you to want to create this art or this written kind of message? What pulled you from leaving the group
Hmm.
to kind of wanting to create this thing, not only probably for yourself but for others?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. So I always felt like I've had this thing inside of me, where like when I learn something, I immediately want to go like turn around and teach it to somebody else and tell them about it. And I'm also a very open person. So even when I was a Jehovah's Witness, like I was always very open about what was going on in my head. And like whenever I had a question or a thought, like I was always talking about it out loud. And that was just me, right? Like that's my personality. And so after I left, I had this like fire in me to feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I need to tell people my story. I feel like I want to share what I've learned since leaving, because there's a lot of people who leave and they become very angry, understandably so, but then also never leave that phase. They stay in
Yeah.
that angry phase. And I don't judge them for that because maybe they're just not equipped. And also, there's also just no judgment. Fine. If you want to stay angry, like that's 100% your choice. But for me, I have gotten to a point where I don't feel like the things that I experienced and went through as a Jehovah's Witness are negatively impacting my life now. I can look
Mm,
back at them and be like, hey, this was terrible. That was a bad experience to go through. That was not pleasant. At the same time, like my life right now is fantastic. Like I have a great relationship with my wife. We just had a baby like 6
huh.
weeks ago.
Congrats.
We have an amazing life, and even the people that I care about that are still Jehovah's Witnesses, they know where I stand and I have a good relationship with them. Like every part of my life that I look at is great right now. And I'm not saying that like as a like, oh, I want to brag, but my point is that there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who leave and they're like, man, my life is just a shit show. Like I don't know what I'm doing with this. I don't know what's going on with that. And for me, I think it was really important to take what I learned to get to this point where I'm at right now and turn around and hand it to other people who are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And when I wrote the book, I wrote it for myself, right? Like to a certain extent, I wrote it because I wanted to get my story down on paper. But I also was like, hey, I want to help other ex Jehovah's Witnesses to like let them be seen and feel validated and go, oh, yeah, like I went through that same thing. And then also be able to benefit from what I learned after leaving to get to the point where I am now. But also, anybody who's ever heard of Jehovah's Witnesses or know someone who's related or like I'm sorry, not related, maybe they're related to someone who's a Jehovah's Witness or they're friends with someone at work or something like that. I feel like it just really like my goal was to just shine a light on it
Mm.
and like so people can understand it better, either the religion itself and why to stay away from it, or maybe the people that are a part of it that they know so that they can understand them better.
Yeah, I totally relate to what you said about people being angry. Um,
And it is okay for them to stay angry.
Yes.
I think we all have to do our time, and some of us do different time than
well,
others.
I actually have a different take on it, and one of the things about conversations that happen with people nowadays, it seems like the moment someone has an understanding that maybe they don't fully align on something, they disconnect. And really, there should be discourse without anger or judgment towards another. It's like, oh, I see where you're
Sure.
coming from, but I don't necessarily fully align.
Okay.
and and that can happen on this podcast, and everyone's still welcome on here. I always tell, like,
Yeah.
you may not like everything I say, but just know it's coming from my lived experience and my interpretation of things.
Yeah.
And my mindset is like, if we only have one life to live, you got to find a way to move forward, and you got to find a way
Mm,
past the anger phase. So I hope that that phase is shorter than longer. I understand that that phase would exist. It's like don't hide from the anger, don't hide from the sadness, don't hide from the
mm,
problem. but find a way to address it head on, sit with it, live with it, and then move on as quickly as you feel like you can to the next phase. Because gosh, life's precious, man. Like,
Yeah.
if this is the only one we have, you want to be angry for the rest of your life about like some people identify themselves as XJWs or ex
Mm,
Mormons or ex Scientologists or whatever, and it's like I don't want to be identified that way.
sure.
To some extent, I've moved on, which is ironic because we've dove back into the space. Uh, so in some sense, you never fully move on, but that's kind of where I take that mindset. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. I think what's funny about it is that I think the people that stay angry are the ones that are actually avoiding their reasons for being angry.
Mm,
And that's why they continue to be so. So it's funny because you think like, well, yes, you do have the right to continue to be angry, and it is the general assumption that if someone is not angry about it anymore, it's like, oh, you just moved on and you forgot about it. It's like, no, I
No.
actually faced it head on, and that's why I got to where I am. It's
yeah.
like if you're still angry, again, not a judgment, but just a fact. Like if you're still angry, you haven't fully embraced that emotion and figured out why you feel that way and processed it and figured out what you need to do to move forward.
Yeah.
So I have a thought that people who leave the witnesses that first day that you're out for good is almost like your first day sober.
Mm,
And I don't know if you're familiar with the sobriety path at all, but it's a path. And you have to admit a bunch of things to yourself. If
mm,
you're doing something like AA, like I'm unable to manage my life and I have to be more accountable, make amends for things that I've done. That the simple 12 steps would serve every person who leaves pretty well.
yeah.
But then some people are not even familiar. Like witnesses are sheltered their entire life. I forget the name of what was the ex-Mormon that we had on,
Oh,
Derek?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. I believe he was talking about just the culture shock of drinking, how some
Mm,
witnesses have never crafted a relationship with alcohol. And so there's all these little things you have to do when you leave, like little growths you have to do and understandings that you have to find. It's really complex.
yeah. Derek, what you were saying before about like feeling like you moved on, but then stepping back into it. It's funny because I've actually done that a few times now. Like since I've left, like when I was questioning things and trying to figure out what was going on, I was like deep in like the XJW subreddit and like reading there and responding to stuff and posting. And then I stepped away. And then I was like, man, I really feel like I have a book in me to like put out there and help people with. And I made the book and I was promoting it a little
And
bit.
you're
And then
like,
I got
now
a
I'll
lot
be
of like,
done with it.
yeah, and I literally stepped away for like a while. I just like I'm fine, and
Yeah.
I left. And it's tough because it's just like in any other relationship in your life, you have to have boundaries, right? And for me, I think every time I went in there to go help and like do what I could to like share something positive and like help these other XJWs, I don't think I was fully prepared for some of the like raw wounds that people were still sitting
Oh,
in
for sure.
when I initially did it. And I think multiple times as I've gone back and forth, it's like I wasn't prepared for it. And so I would just sit there like, I can't do this. It's too much negativity. But that's why I say like just like any relationship in your life, you have to have boundaries. And I think that was what it was for me. I would step in, step out, step in, step out. And I'm back in this stepping in point, right? where
We
where
pulled
I'm
you
like,
back in.
yeah, but see, this is the beauty of it though, because a lot of people think, well, you clearly haven't moved on because you're still doing whatever. It's like, what are you talking about? Like what I'm doing here is to pass on what I've learned
Yeah.
to help other people and help them feel validated and seen and equipped to live a better life now.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's and the thing you learn too is when we're kind of all in it, you just assume, at least in my instance, early on, this is definitely not now. You just assume that you'll kind of have brothers in arms on the outside that align with you.
Mm,
And you just think like, oh, everyone's going to be kind of following a similar trajectory and path post XJW or whatever cult or high control group you're in. And the reality is some people don't find a good space. They don't find a good mindset, and they kind of
Or haven't found
they
it
haven't
yet.
found it yet. And
yeah.
my hope, and I'm sure you guys have the same hope, is if they're stumbling and kind of going through life on the internet, on Instagram, whatever, that they find written word from yourself, Josh, or things that we're putting out there online with the podcast or the Instagram account, that can go like, oh, you can sit with people that align with you, and there is a community of people that have faced similar problems from the way we grew up with, but aren't ruminating. They're not sitting in this space of anger, and you just want to align with people that want to try to move on healthily.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's at a different place, right? Like when you leave, like it's just like you were saying before, Trent, like it is a path and there are steps along this path and everyone kind of
Yeah.
falls in a different place on there. And I will say, like, there was a time where I very much valued the rumination, right? Like I very much value being able to go there and be like, I'm so fucking pissed about this. And I can't believe they
Yeah.
stole these years from me. Right. And so like, it's hard when you're past it to like remember it, but like in those moments, man, that was so valuable. And so you're right. Like I think it's important to continue to be engaged in the community wherever you're at on the path, because there probably is someone else along the same at the same spot that you are, that you, like you said, you feel like you can connect with and maybe even move forward with them,
Yeah.
just like you guys are doing this podcast. I don't know if you guys knew each other beforehand or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually I've known him since I was seven
Oh,
ish.
wow.
Yeah,
We were actually in the same congregation.
Really?
yeah, we've known each other
Wow.
for a while. Unfortunately, it's been
Yeah, it's
a
a real bummer.
challenging relationship, but we we press on. Well, for people that are listeners, that really kind of want to get to know you a little bit and kind of along your journey.
Yeah.
Can you kind of just kind of give a little bit of information about who you are? We talked about a little bit before what you grew up as, just
Yeah.
kind of overlayer there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of pieces to my story, so I'll try to give like a bird's eye, and then you guys can kind of just ask whatever you want about anything, any piece along the way. So my parents were not born into the religion, but they both were very young when their family came into the religion. So
Mhm.
it was almost as if they were raised in it. Both of them came in around, I want to say like their preteens probably. Then they met and got married. Obviously, then me and my sister were born into the religion and raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. When I was 11 or 12, my parents got divorced and my dad was disfellowshipped and he left the religion at that point. So from that point until maybe I was around 19-ish, I didn't like, my relationship with my dad was very on and off. And that was obviously really tough for me as a young man. Like I wanted a relationship with my dad, but I was told that it was wrong and I shouldn't and that he was bad. And so that was very complicated, right? So that's why I say it was very on and off, because I wanted to have a relationship with him, but I was torn. Then at 19 years old, I got married to
As one does.
yes, which is very typical. I got married.
It's the age I got married.
Yeah. So it turned out that she see sometimes I struggle with how to talk about this because I don't want to like cast her in a bad light. For me at the time, okay, because I was like all in. Then that's how I was up until like I decided to leave. I was all in. I believed it. I was not one of the people who was in and but was just like, this is bullshit, but like whatever. No, like even from when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, all of those things, like I fully believed it. After we got married, I realized that she had some things that she was doing that were, that she was hiding.
Mhm.
And so she was basically living a double life. And that was really difficult. And like finding that out from someone who, like, for me was just like a goody two shoes, right? And believed it 100%. You're like, what?
Hard.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But then, things took a really bad turn. So, like, we hadn't even been married a year yet. And her younger brother, who was born like 2 days after me, he committed suicide.
Oh,
And a month after that, her dad committed suicide.
oh my
Oh
gosh.
my God. And
So it was, if you can, just knowing those pieces of information, that probably gives you a good idea of what her childhood, their family dynamic, all of that, right? It was bad.
Oh.
Her dad was an alcoholic. He was addicted to prescription medication. He was abusive to them. And she had other siblings too, who experienced the same thing. And we
but they
got,
were witnesses.
yep. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a complicated situation. She was baptized. My wife at the time, she was baptized. and her dad was baptized. Her younger siblings were not, and it was always kind of like her dad being an alcoholic wasn't like a surprise, if that makes sense. Like it's their whole family was kind of just like, oh yeah, we got baptized. The dad and her got baptized, but it wasn't like they were all fully in, and it was complicated.
I mean,
But
we've all learned like alcohol and witnesses have a duality.
Yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we did not survive that. Our relationship did not survive that, and part of that was I was young, right? It's like super young, not really equipped to handle what was going on. And the other part of it was, I mean, just quite frankly, I was a fucking asshole because I was clinging to the religious beliefs that I had been raised in instead of being there in the way that I should have been for
Mm.
my wife at the time.
Do you remember your mindset? Like you said, you're kind of an asshole, but or maybe that's how I took it. I don't know what you.
Nope, that's
Okay,
that's the word
okay,
I used.
okay, okay.
Yep. Actually, I said fucking
Okay,
asshole. So
okay, okay. As I said, I was like, wait, did he actually say that word, or did I? But do you remember as a 19-year-old kid, like how you tried to manage that for your wife, like with the lens of being a very active, believing Jehovah's Witness?
oh yeah, it was a mess. Like I remember, so like there was this one detail I remember that it was after her dad had died that she said something to me like that was like seeing him like when she was doing
Mm.
stuff. It's like I saw him like he was just like sitting there on the couch just now. And instead of me being open to that and like what that could mean, or maybe that's true, I don't know, right? You immediately launch into, well, okay, but that's not true, right? I mean, the Bible says that when you die, this, right?
You can't really be
Yeah, people
supportive.
can't see it, but you're just like super
Yeah.
nod, right? It's like, oh God, oh God. If that gives you a little glimpse into what I was equipped to handle, it was not much.
Well, it
Uh,
just makes you remember. It's like you're totally in at this point. You've had
yep,
19 years of training and teaching,
yep,
and the very first moment of kind of a major tragedy happens. It's like, how are we not equipped? I mean,
yeah,
we've been in the theocratic ministry school for how long? We're supposed
so
to be
true.
teaching and kind of learning these to be, ministers and people at the door, and especially men giving these extra parts. It's just wild to think like, gosh, we know so much more now being out than
Yeah.
we were ever taught when we were in.
Well, because ultimately, see this my take on it is that ultimately everything that they're teaching you is to help you to be able to convert people
Yeah.
to become Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it was always, I don't know if it was this way for you guys, but it was always like if someone disagreed with you, it was your job to convince them that oh no, but this is what the Bible actually says. This is what the truth is.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely like my response to a lot of what was happening at the time.
It's so sad.
So we ended up getting divorced, but again, another asshole move for me. And I'm sure you guys probably already know where this is going to go. She didn't cheat on me. Okay. So we just were going to get divorced. And I was like, well, I don't want to be single forever because I'm not going to keep track of what's going on in your life. And she had a boyfriend. And I was like, well, like, God, I feel like such an asshole even saying it right now. But like, this is what it is, right? When you
Yeah.
believe it, you're like, I need proof. Like, I need proof of infidelity. I need you to admit it. And not just like, I remember talking to the elders. I'm like, if she tells me, is that enough? And they're like, well, we can't really tell. I mean, and I was like, okay. So I literally had her.
It's hard. I
Such a
get it, man.
fucking asshole. I had her write a piece of paper saying that she was with someone else,
Yeah.
like physically had been with someone else, and sign it so that I could then turn around and go to the elders like, look, I am scripturally free to remarry.
It's crazy.
And I remember when I did that, they were like, well, if that's, it's up to you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's up to me. We've been having these conversations this whole time. I'm trying to like, do I get divorced or not? Am I allowed? Yeah. So I definitely look back on that with like a lot of regret in the sense that that was just so, oh man. I actually don't regret anything, to be clear. Let me be clear. I don't regret anything. I am exactly who I am today because of everything I was up until today. But I definitely regret the trouble that I caused people when I made those decisions.
Well, I have a question. So they're obviously confusing you because you are aware that you're in a system of things
Mhm.
with like within the religion, and you're trying to dot your I's and cross your
Yep.
T's. Did they help you emotionally? Like, were they still there for you? Did they do good brotherly things for you, or were they just answering your questions?
So it was a little complicated for me in that moment because I wasn't at the same congregation this whole time. Like there were like
Mhm.
multiple moves to different congregations across me growing up to getting married to being separated and getting divorced. There was like like a move every single time. And so, had I been at maybe a different congregation where the elders knew me growing up, it might be a different story. But in that moment where I was at, like the elders not really knowing me and me just being like, I gotta know, like you said, like I'm
Yeah.
dotting my I's, crossing my T's. Cause at this point, this was only 2 years later, right? I was 21 years old. The only thing I'm thinking about at this point is like, I'm not going to be single
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, right? Again, like an asshole, but that's what was on my mind at the time. So anyway, that ended up happening and it was, somehow she agreed to it, which was, great in that moment for me. Ridiculous now that I look back at it. But it was maybe probably about 5 years after that that I met my now wife and we got married and it's been great. But my dad, who was disfellowshipped, again, I didn't have a relationship with him for a long time. It was very on and off. When I was with my first wife, I actually did have a relationship with him because she was more like, yeah, you should have a relationship with your dad. Obviously, she was, kind of playing both sides of the fence. So of course, she's going to want me to have a relationship with my own dad. So I was close with him. And then when her and I separated and got divorced, I kind of was like, you know what? I need to get my head, like, I need to like get serious about Jehovah, and so like I need to stop talking to my dad, and that was part of the reason why I moved congregations too, because I physically moved to a different place from where I was at close to him and all of that stuff. After I got married again the second time, which is my wife now, it was probably 2 years or so after we got married that I actually started questioning things. I had a business that I'll say without getting too specific. There, how there's a lot of like JW themed businesses where you'll have like little stuff that's for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Um,
sound like a little service bag with the JW logo on it. Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
those
I
lines,
got
yes.
you.
Okay, it was a product that was specifically aimed at Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, and that's what I was doing, and I was selling those things, and that was so it's really funny. So my whole life I've always had like very customer facing roles and I've had a lot of different jobs, but I've always been dealing with customers. So I've been in customer service a long time. And I remember going into that business thinking this is going to be great because all of my customers are going to be Jehovah's Witnesses. They're my brothers and sisters. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. And then oh my god, listen, I'm telling you, like the insane amount of rude, condescending, disrespectful interactions I had just is mind-blowing.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that.
So you would think so, but like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense. So for me, so what was happening was if I'm referencing like if someone had an issue with their order, right? So if it would arrive and maybe it was like damaged or something like that, or it didn't come as fast as they had expected it to, I was getting all of these messages. And you know what it sounded like to me? It sounded like a watchtower where it was very like formally written but also like very condescending and
Mm.
like talking
Mm.
down to you but also demanding and like very like legal almost, right, where it's like, well, this is the proper way to take care of your customers is XYZ or whatever. Anyway, I'm only sharing this.
Well, I like to put that in just as a quick aside is like
No, please do.
what I'm imagining is, and Trent and I have talked about this before, is they love to do the questions. Is this how you would treat a brother or
Mm,
sister in the congregation?
yep.
The
Yep.
it's like that would be in their little remark to you, like, I can't believe that one of my brothers would send me damaged goods like this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's just like,
Exactly.
what?
So, and they would 100% would pull that card. So besides that, on the other side of it was people who were Jehovah's Witnesses who didn't like the products because I was selling to Jehovah's Witnesses were ripping me a new one on social media. It's calling me like the merchants in the temple and all of that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting it from all angles here. The people who are buying from
Can't
me,
win.
the people who aren't buying from me. So I'm only sharing that experience because that was part of what made me start questioning things, because I went into this thinking this is going to be a great experience because I'm dealing with the brothers and sisters. And it was the exact opposite at like almost every single
Yeah.
turn.
Did you say that was part of the process that woke you up?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll dive into that a little bit more. I wish that someone like you, if you would have just known me before this, I would have let you know that's a bad idea, man. Yeah, because my dad did construction growing up and would constantly work with other brothers. He was a general contractor, and story after story of problems working with other brothers. Because I think you have an idea of, oh, it's going to be brotherly love, and there's going to be, we're all kind of doing this together, and maybe stories from quick builds and different things. And you just realize, like, just working with men and working with people and in general, there's just always conflict.
There comes this time when you do that of like disillusionment, where you're like, man, the stuff in the Watchtower and Awake magazine is not necessarily happening to me.
Well, and you also have a mindset like, maybe I can't act worldly to this person. I can't say certain things that maybe I want to say.
Right.
And so you're kind of stuck in this passive aggressive stance of where you can never really get out of this cycle of like, I want to tell you off, but all right, my sister, I will send this over to you at a loss.
Yep. Exactly.
But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, because you had asked if this was part of me waking up, and it was like that, those interactions. But also, this is kind of like a full circle moment for me too, because when I had that business, I was promoting it on social media, and because of that, I was starting to get exposed to EXJW stuff because they would use the same hashtags I would use. Okay. So I started seeing what grabbed my attention was like memes, XJW memes. And now, like, if right, you've seen my social media, that's all my pages is just like a shit ton of memes.
Your stuff's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And like, so it's kind of full circle moment for me because that was, I remember it was like this SpongeBob meme. Like, it's burned in my brain. Okay. It was like this SpongeBob meme. And I remember like, when I first saw it, because it said Jehovah, right? You just think, oh, it's just because there are some like actual just normal active Jehovah's Witness meme pages, and so that's what I thought it was, right? And so I'm like, oh, I wonder who this is, right? You kind of go into it like positive, and then you read it, and you're like, oh, this is like a apostate stuff. Oh, okay, I shouldn't think about that. But the seed was already planted.
Satan made it grow,
right? And like the meme was in my head, and I was like, oh man, I was like, okay, I know that was apostate, but that kind of made sense. Like this was all happening. Like this thought process was all happening right before COVID. So then COVID happens and all the meetings go on Zoom. And that was, for me, that was kind of like the boulder falling, like going right over the edge of the cliff.
There's going to be a study one day about how COVID brought the witnesses down.
Oh, dude, I totally agree with that. I can't tell you. So here's what's interesting. I will say, just random side note, I saw a lot of people almost leave during that time. And it's really sad because like I saw them and they were like right there. And then
probably did the double down.
They went back to in-person meetings. Yep. Exactly. They went back like even stronger. And I'm like, man, like that person was so close. But that was just a side note.
Because they were on the final part of the last days.
Exactly. Oh man. So the meetings were on Zoom, and that was when I started kind of like the way I describe it was almost like I didn't know that I was being drowned until like I had an opportunity to come up for air, and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize this is what was going on. Because when you're in the religion, and I know you guys know this, it's like you're being told as if like you need this spiritual food, right? There, it's like constant. There's, hey, you've got to read the daily text every morning, and don't forget to read your Bible, and make sure you study for the Watchtower. Oh, and also there's a meeting during the week that you have to prepare for. Right. And, and by the way, we release magazines all the time too that you're going to be, giving to people. So you should know what's in them as well. And by the way, we also started a TV channel, and you should probably keep up to date with all that stuff, right? So they just continually put more and more stuff in your face, and it's almost like you don't have an opportunity to breathe, but you just don't know that, right? It's all you know.
Do you think that the leaders, when they kind of started this spiritual routine, do you think it came from a good place, or do you think that they understood that this was a method, or a way to control, to keep people in line?
Yeah. Honestly, it's a really good question. I have to say I don't know, but what I will say, like my take on it, like I believe that people are good. And it's kind of like I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I genuinely believe every person at their core is good. Now, that being said, if you read my book, you will know that I've definitely seen a lot of people do a lot of really bad things. And so this is not coming from a place of like, oh man, I was just sheltered my whole life. And so now I don't, I just think people are good. I am aware of the bad things that people do, but I've also seen even the people that I've known who have done bad things in situations where I'm like, wow, that's really surprising that that person did this XYZ good thing, or that that was their thought process on this. And I'm not saying other people have to believe that either, but that's kind of my take on it. So all of that to say, I probably am leaning more towards that there was a good intention at the beginning,
Yeah.
and maybe, you know, like maybe there still is. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I can't read their minds, and maybe they do really believe it, because I'm coming from a place of like I believed it. Okay,
Right.
I only did everything I did because I 100% believed it. And to be fair, a lot of what they teach, it actually makes sense if you believe it. Right? If you believe it,
Hmm.
you're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I really should be reading all this stuff all the time because Satan's coming at me and trying to, make me, leave Jehovah. Yeah, I really should read this. So that's why I go back and forth. I'm like, I don't know, maybe not, but
Yeah.
I have a thought. So I'm looking at my copy of The Finished Mystery. I think the copyright date in that is 1800 something, 1870 or something. I'd have to look.
okay.
Maybe even 1900. But there was something in the water back then. Like, because it was not only Rutherford, but it was the Freemasons. It was,
Mm,
oh my gosh, the guy Kellogg of Kellogg's cereal. I think that at
mm,
one point back then, oh, I'm going to butcher this. I remember someone back then was saying that kids should eat, cereal for breakfast because it makes them stop masturbating. And he just like
I know what you're talking
changed,
about. I
he
remember hearing something like
changed
that.
the whole face of cereal just because he was like, you know what, I'm going to stand strong on my scientific principles and I'm going to make, people better. And then I think Rutherford was genuinely like
Yeah.
that. I think that he was one of those people during this time where they were churning out content and they were churning out like these systems. And then like the Bible student system was all
Mm,
built then
yeah.
too. So it's like these early foundations. This was kind of normal back
Yeah.
then. The 1800s was a revolution, and 1900s, was a revolution in many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. I definitely could see like genuine intentions at the beginning.
Yeah. The Finished Mystery was 1917.
My
Just
bad,
to
1917.
Yeah, it's
Still.
okay. I mean, we're gonna have write-ins from so many people that are just gonna they
They're
want to
gonna
correct
gut
you.
me.
So I would figured I'd get in front of it on the pod that we've already corrected, so we don't need any keyboard warriors to write in on Trent saying that.
Thanks.
Well, I want to back up just a little bit. So okay, so you've said a few times like you were totally
Yeah.
in, definitely believed.
We were too, by the
Yeah.
way.
Um, well, Trent more than me. I kind of, as I reflect, had a lot of doubts, and I never pursued the spiritual ladder.
Mm,
I never had these kind of spiritual goals other than doing the bare minimum. I freely could say
yeah.
it now, but when I was in, I was like, oh, I'm trying.
Mm.
Like I got stuff going on. But what was your kind of spiritual trajectory from a childhood? How early did you get baptized? Did you get to ministerial servant, elder, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so I so I got baptized when I was like I think 15 years old, and maybe 16, and I always wanted to do more, but ironically being the person who was all in also could not keep a secret about myself about watching porn or masturbating,
Yeah.
and because of that they would never appoint me. Like,
You
Wow.
always turned yourself in.
yes,
See,
exactly.
to
And you know
me,
what's
no,
no,
go
please,
ahead.
no, say what you're gonna say. I'll remember this. I promise.
I was just gonna say, I think it's crazy because to me, those are the ones you promote. The
Yep.
good boys, the guys who are
Yep.
like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake." That's who I want on my team.
Yep.
I will never understand that.
Yep. I used to beat myself up so much. You don't understand. Cause like when you're in it and you're fully in it and you want it and you just can't have it. I remember there was like a there was a brother who like got baptized and got appointed as a servant, like in front of me, right? Like I watched it happen and I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. Like I want this so bad and I can't have it. And it was funny because they would let me do some things, but they would never appoint me, right? So they would let me do the mics, the sound system. And it's so, I remember people in the congregation were always like, what's the deal there? Because he's so like, he does everything. I was a pioneer. I would like, whatever they would ask me to do, I would do. But that was the thing. I couldn't stop looking at porn, like you can't fault a single Jehovah's Witness guy for looking at porn, right?
There's a sexual repression
Yeah.
in every single Jehovah's Witness, male and female.
Yep.
I know that there's a little bit more. I don't know how to word it. A little more courtesy on behalf of the sisters,
Sure.
the females. But dude, we're sexual creatures.
Yeah.
And it's constantly repressed. And so it's only we all understand. I was going to say the funny thing is the guy you were talking about that got promoted. He just didn't say anything.
Yep.
Kept his mouth shut.
Everyone.
Yep.
Every one of these
Every
fools that
last
got
fucking
promoted.
one of them, bro.
You know that they just learned. Oh, I'm keeping my mouth shut on that one.
Yep. I remember. So this is what I was going to say before was that there was a friend of mine that I grew up with, and he's the one that introduced me to porn. And he got appointed as a servant before me, and he got appointed as an elder. And I just
Wow.
remember thinking, like, you gotta be fucking kidding me right now. Because I'm like, there's no way he said to them the same thing he said to me. And like, there's no way he stopped. Because he
And I agree with Trent, like, not to interrupt,
No, go ahead.
but it's like if they can keep that secret, what other kind of things are they a little manipulating about?
So true.
You were actually genuinely, honestly in and wanted to do your best, but had this thing you had a problem, quote unquote, problem with.
Yeah.
And so I definitely agree. You probably would have been a much better servant of the people than any of those other guys would have been.
Yeah.
Even the fact that you took time to write this book for others is another indicator of your self kind of serving attitude. To take the time to do something like that, and to take a time on a weekend to sit down and record a podcast with us. I mean, out hiking
on a Sunday, no less.
Sunday,
God's day. No,
you're not going to church today. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, so I wanted to tell you guys because there's a little bit more to my story. Okay, so with everything that happened with COVID, that was when I started kind of like, okay, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm not saying it's not the truth. I'm just saying like it shouldn't be a big deal to like question it, right? I should just be able to look into stuff. Okay. And that was obviously what set me down that path. Now, my wife at the time, she was like always a few steps behind me. Okay. But if you can't tell, I'm a talkative person. And that's how I process things. So like I wasn't hiding it from her. Like when I had questions, I was careful about the way I brought it up to her, but I was not hiding it. I was like, I need to talk about this because I get where, I understand this, right? I was raised, I get it. But also, like, I mean, this kind of makes sense, right? Like this is kind of like what they're pointing out here. Like that's true, isn't it? Like, yeah, I kind of saw that too, So we kind of went along this path where like I was here and she was there, and this is how we moved, right? Where she was like a few steps behind me each step of the way. Now we're on the same page now. And I'm super appreciative that that's the way it worked out.
This is your current wife that you talked through this stuff with?
Yes. So I'm very appreciative that that's the way that it worked out. Now, what happened, ironically, was that I got appointed as a servant during all of this.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
You finally did it.
Oh my God!
That's
Dude,
how you
I'm
get
telling
appointed. Apparently,
that was one of the things that made me go like, "It's okay. Come on, this has got to be like a cosmic joke here." Like, as soon as I'm like sitting here questioning whether or not I believe this, that's when I get appointed. You're telling me that Jehovah's the one making that decision? That's a joke, right? So that started making
he could sense you were getting spiritually weak, and so he knew.
Here's a little breadcrumb.
This little carrot
keep you
right
going.
Here, get you.
It was food at the proper time.
Oh my gosh!
Then I've been questioning this stuff, right? And because I got to this point where I was really, really like, I was like, I don't think I believe this anymore. Okay. I was like, actually, now that I don't believe this anymore, why the fuck am I not talking to my dad? So I called my dad and we like rekindled our relationship, and we had like, it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks where we were just talking all the time for like hours at a time,
That's
just like
great.
reconnecting, and me sharing my thoughts. And he was like, yeah, I know. Like, I've known this for a long time. That's exactly what I was trying to tell you before. And it was literally like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then I get a phone call that's like, hey, because my dad was in construction. I was like, hey, your dad fell at a construction site and he's in the hospital, and he shattered the entire left side of his skull.
Ugh.
He's probably not going to make it. And if he does, he's definitely not going to be the same person.
Oh no.
Man, it's emotional to even say it. Um, but I just remember, that was the moment where I was like, I'm a 100% fucking done. Like, this is insane that I spent decades of my life without having a relationship with my dad. And now I'm going to lose him right when I feel like I'm free.
Yeah, at the same moment you feel like you're finally going to start gaining him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So the good thing, just for a little bit of relief, is that my dad actually is fine. He lived,
Good.
he survived,
Wow.
and he's literally exactly the same person he was before. He remembers up until the moment he fell. So it's like
Wow.
I could not have asked for a better outcome in that story. Okay.
And so his brain capability, his health, everything's fine?
He's honestly 100% okay. He will say that sometimes, he doesn't remember things as well as he used to, but he's also like in his 60s. So it's like, that just could just be
Understandable.
you getting older. So that is basically my story. Okay. It was after that that I was like, you know what? I think I want to write a book. Like, that was the moment where I decided I was done. Right. And then it was shortly afterwards that I was like, I'm going to write a book about this. And
So I have a question about that. One of the hardest things for me was I had a firm belief in paradise being real and the resurrection too. So it would have been hard for me to walk away maybe thinking that the resurrection is not real. So how did you rationalize that? Did that come across your mind at all?
it's so funny. You're not the first person to bring that up to me, that they thought, oh, wow, like you could have totally gone in the different direction there.
Yeah.
And, at that point, I think I was already so convinced that it wasn't the truth that I was just sensing what I shared before, that it was like how they like stole my relationship with my dad basically from me. And then here I am going to lose him when I had just reconnected and basically felt like I needed him the most because I was leaving the religion that he had left decades earlier and had been through the ring, like gone through all of
Yeah.
this already.
Well, I just got to say, I'm really glad you still have your dad with you, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
it. And me and my dad, honestly, yeah, it's frustrating because me and my dad are so close. Like, we have such an amazing relationship, and my dad is such a good person, like genuinely such a good person. And that was always the struggle for me, like growing up, because I knew my dad, and I was like, I know he's a good person, but I'm constantly being told from everyone around me that I shouldn't have a relationship with him, that he's terrible because he left my mom, this and that, whatever. And I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, right? So not only, obviously, he left the religion and he got disfellowshipped, but even if that wasn't the case, even if he didn't leave the religion, someone has to be the bad guy, right? When there's a divorce, someone has to be the bad guy. It's never, oh yeah, they both just got divorced and it was amicable. One person had to be the person who was going to get thrown under the bus, who was going to get disfellowshipped, who was going to be disciplined. And it was my dad.
And it's every possible thing in your world and your reality going against your dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your God, your
Mm,
religion, your elders, your ministerial servants, everyone in your family that's in is all tripling down on, like, hey, he's
yeah.
the bad guy. And so how do you fight that
And
weight
I was
of
12,
like, okay,
right? I'm not like a grown man when that happened. I was 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
What are you supposed to do other than just like, okay, I guess he's the bad guy?
yeah, it sucks. Yes. Well, that's a theme that comes up a lot of times. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Like, these are the caretakers and the people that are supposed to help guide you, and their message of guidance is just completely wrong.
Yeah.
The social control that they exert over all of
Mhm.
us, it's like so many groups of them, like Derek said, it's like 5 different groups of regular witnesses, your
Mm.
family, your circuit
Yeah.
overseer, brothers, your book study group. It's everyone exerting social pressure on
And
you.
I agree. It's one of these things where bad things happen, unfortunate things happen. The relationship of your parents, not working out is a thing. And there is probably bad moments and bad things that happen that they truly did to make it not work out. But it doesn't necessarily mean their entire life course is bad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And that's the thing that's challenging is like another constant theme is like the loss and the time loss. It's
Hmm.
like we don't get that back.
Yeah, for sure. You know what's interesting? What you were saying about with one parent being made out to be the bad guy. The opposite is also true. Was that my mom was like this angel, right? Because my dad was the one who did her wrong, and so my mom was constantly being put on this pedestal. When let's be 100% clear here, as adults, it is never one person's fault in a divorce, right? So I'm sitting here like my dad, knowing everyone's saying that my dad is the bad guy when I'm like, I love my dad. He's a really good person, right? And I have proof of it in my entire life up until now. But also, hey, your mom is an angel and she's amazing and she's the victim here and it's terrible what's been done to her. And I'm like, but dude, I live with her, man. Like I know, like I get what was going on with my parents. And this is no like I've had this conversation with my mom already, right? So like there's no shade to her, right? She was doing the best she could with what she knew how at the time. But that being said, it wasn't that great, right? Like she would yell a
Yeah.
lot and she was slamming things and maybe she needed to go to therapy and she didn't. And that was part of what led to them getting divorced. So not only is there confusion over my dad being the bad guy, but it's over my mom being this perfect angel when in reality I'm like, that's not really what I'm experiencing at home, but this is supposedly what
Yeah.
it's supposed to be.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, I wish, and my dad will eventually find this podcast, and it's the joys of having a very open dialogue.
Yeah.
It's he shuns me currently, and I just don't
Mm,
get an opportunity to continue that relationship. And I think the older you get, you look back in your life and you hope for a little bit of an opportunity to make changes and say your new piece and your new kind of thoughts on things, and it just probably won't happen.
yeah.
But I did have a question. Speaking of your own father, do you recall when you were 12 in that range of having conversations like that? Your father told you about like, I have to go. I'm disfellowshipped and I'm not going to be in your life. Do you remember having like tough conversations with him?
So I remember when when they separated and he like sat us all down at the kitchen table and they basically were like, he's going to be leaving for a little while and maybe he's going to come back, but we don't know. And it was like super emotional, right? Because as a kid, you don't even understand. Like, I didn't even know that was on the table, to be honest. I was like, wait, what? I'm so confused. What's going on?
Yeah,
Especially
I've been there.
being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, where it's like divorce isn't a thing.
Yeah,
It's actually ironic because all they teach is that you don't get divorced, but people get divorced left and right.
all the time.
But when you're a kid, you have no clue about that. All you know is what they've been telling you that no one gets divorced. And then when it happens, you're like, oh my God, my entire reality is shattered. I thought that we didn't do this.
Yeah,
I thought this was something worldly people did, right? So I remember that conversation with my dad. What I will say, now as an adult, having had conversations with him, in his mind, I remember he's told me that he did not think that he was not going to have a relationship with us. Like he thought that even though he left, that like he was still going to be able to have a relationship with his kids.
And did he leave both at the same time? Like, did he leave the witnesses? He said he's not coming back.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was, and I will say that's a little muddied because me and my sister, we were young at the time, again like 11, 12 years old, and like begging him to come back and to come back to Jehovah and go to the meeting with us and blah blah blah. And so I do remember that like even though they had separated, I feel like at one point he came back and he went to meetings again, but he was like, I just can't do this. Like like this is the funny thing is my dad, while being made out to be the bad guy, was actually setting the best example that a parent could set, which is I am going to live 100% authentically to what my values are, and he was doing that, and that was why he made the decision he made, was because I am not going to be a part of this religion that I don't believe in anymore. Like even if it
mm,
means I don't get to have a relationship with my kids, like I'm going to do what I believe is right no matter what.
yeah,
I hear you.
And because of that, he was made out to be the bad guy. And now I look back and I'm like, bro, that's the best thing a parent could do. Because like I didn't have a relationship with him for up until I was like almost 30 years old. Like he literally went decades waiting to have a solid relationship with his kids based on making a decision on principle, on like what was the right thing to do. And now, look, there's a part of me that was always like, I wish you would have just taken me with you. But now I'm absolutely never going back. I got to where I am now, and like there's zero chance of
That's
that.
super complicated.
And so because of that, now him and I have a great relationship.
Yeah, it's great that you have still time. It's that
Yeah.
it's not like he's on his deathbed and you're getting up there as well. I mean, that's the toughest thing is anyone that kind of
Yeah.
goes through this kind of new journey of kind of waking up maybe to a new reality of things. The older you get, it's just harder.
Yeah.
But it's great that you guys were able to connect and have that. Now, through your kind of journey of finally starting to leave, did you have conversations? You did say you were talking with your wife. Were you talking with your mom, elders, trusted friends? What were some of these conversations like as you were starting to maybe decide to move on?
Yeah. So for me, it was all my wife. Like that's who I was talking to about everything. My wife is, she's my best friend. Like we're basically each other's world. And when I was going through that and I was having those thoughts, she was the one that I was confiding in. And I'm sure as you guys can understand, like you can't talk about it
Yeah,
with everyone because you don't know what's going to happen. Like they could just turn on you. Like,
Well, Derek and I were both married whenever we left, and we both got
yeah,
divorced.
you tried.
We had tried to talk to our wives about it, and it was just wasn't going to happen.
yeah. See, okay. So that's exact. So I didn't mention this before, but when I was married the first time, I do say this in my book, but I didn't mention it here. When I was married the first time, and after everything happened with, her brother and her dad, and, I told you the experience she was having where she felt like she had been seeing her dad, she no longer wanted to be a witness.
Mm.
And up until that moment, I was like, I'm here. I'm still, even though I sucked at it, right? I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna work hard to be the best that I can be and make this work. And it was when she decided to no longer be a witness that I was like, okay, I'm done. I want a
Mm,
divorce. Goodbye. And so in the beginning, when I was having questions, that was one of my biggest fears was like, my wife is my best friend. She's the one who I have to talk to about this, but like she could do exactly what I did,
yeah.
Yep.
which is this is the moment where I decide I'm not doing this.
Yeah, that's the toughest thing is I mean, you hope, but you never truly know what's going to happen because the moment you kind of take that next step, anything's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My mindset is I try to give myself grace and I try to give anyone grace. Like you weren't fully yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to really look back and it's like years and years of indoctrination and learning to parrot and say what you're supposed to do based on these
Mhm.
talks that were given and these books and magazines you're supposed to read. And you talked about it earlier, the schedule of information. You just were not given very much free time to allow your own brain to do its thing.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, but
Did you ever get disfellowshipped, or did you disassociate? Did you fade?
No. So, little backstory. When my first wife and I were dating, we fooled around from like almost day one. And so there was a shit ton of guilt about that,
a
obviously.
lot of hand
Oh
holding.
yeah. We're doing a lot with our hands, that's for sure. Um, and of course, what I was 18, 19 when we were dating. Come on. So after we got married, I was super like guilt. I just felt so much guilt, right? And I was like, we need to confess. And we told the elders, and they were like, okay, well, you're married now, so there really is no like repenting to do. So like, yeah, I guess we're just gonna like privately reprove you guys and like whatever. So I never actually like experienced getting disfellowshipped or anything in that at that time. Later now, no, I
Mm,
technically it's kind of funny because on paper I'm still technically a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm like, I don't believe it. Obviously, right? From the title of my book, I don't believe it. And I haven't been to a meeting in, probably since 2020 or maybe even like the beginning of 21 or something like that. But I never got disfellowshipped and I never disassociated. I know that like everyone feels differently about even disassociation, but I never wrote a letter for a couple reasons. First of all, my mom is still 100% in, and I didn't want to create like to put a barrier in between my relationship with her because my mom actually, while growing up, despite everything that happened, my mom was one of my best friends. Like I would always talk to her about everything, and I still do. I talk to her like almost every day. And
You're gonna tell her that you went on a XJW podcast.
um, I could tell you the story, but I actually just told her about my book a few weeks ago. And actually, I think it's important we
Oh,
talk about that. But before we do, yeah, so that was part of the reason why I never wrote a letter, was because I didn't want to jeopardize my relationship with my mom. And also, there's some people that I'm like my childhood best friend I still talk to every once in a while, and he's definitely in.
Would you say it's complicated though? Because you're kind of living in that kind of fade. You
Yeah,
faded away,
yeah,
and some people may go like, "Is he spiritually weak? Is he
yeah.
going?" Did you do the move away move as well?
So on accident, yes. So when I was talking about what happened during COVID, we moved in the middle of all of that. Like we moved like it was after they had started on Zoom, but before they were going back in person. And that was not planned. Like we moved across the country just because that was what we wanted to do. And it had nothing to do with us leaving the religion, but it worked out perfect that way because we moved and they had sent our cards to the new congregation, and we went to a few meetings on Zoom, but that was when we had kind of started like we don't want to do this, and we started just like I don't were you guys in during COVID or no?
no, I was out.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in. I remember doing my last memorial for COVID, like on Zoom,
Okay. Okay.
and we talked about this before, and I was like, "This is the last one I've ever done."
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So
That must have been April 20.
yeah, probably.
oh, yeah, well, that'll do it. So for me, what happened, like the progression there, even with my wife, was like we would like they expected everyone to like dress up like you would at the Kingdom Hall and have your video on. And that's what we would do, right? We would show up in our living room, we'll all fully dressed in a suit and tie, and then, have our video on. And, you would kind of be like checking your phone because no one can really see. And that you're not fully paying attention. And then you're like, do we need to like be totally dressed up? Like it's okay, right? And so we would kind of like dress up fine, but then we would turn our video off, and then we would just be like not paying attention, and eventually we would just log on and put the laptop in another room so that they would not know we weren't
Yeah,
listening, right? But
yeah,
they would think we were attending. So that was
Ooh,
kind of what that progression was, and like how we
that's
were able to
smart.
come up for air. It really was like the meetings being on Zoom because of exactly what I just described. Because normally you're at the meeting, like you are paying attention. Like there is no way not to pay attention, because if you're not, people will know, right? The only choice you have is just to sit there and listen to what's being said from the stage. Now I know they have people on their phones and stuff, but you have to have like a privacy screen or something for people not to know you're scrolling doing something else.
you're not on XJW Reddit at meetings.
Exactly.
Well, which
Exactly.
which I did, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Nice.
If you ever get a corner seat,
Yeah, up against the wall. So
yeah,
no, you're just,
yeah, you're up against the
oh my
wall.
gosh, so funny, so funny. But yeah, I definitely attribute like it 100% was COVID. That was like the tipping point, like where it was like, okay, now I'm allowed to start thinking for myself, because it was that specific circumstance. Now I forget where we were going, but I didn't. So this we were talking about like why I didn't disassociate, and part of it was because I was maintaining my relationship with my mom and some other people. And the other part of it too is just like that's like your rules. Like in my mind, I'm just like, that's your like you want me to be like officially in or officially out. Like I don't care if you have my name on a piece of paper there that says I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Like that doesn't matter to me in any way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that from, because I know some people do. Maybe even you guys did. I know some people will be like, no, I want it to be official and have it in writing and whatever. But for me, I just never felt, compelled to do it.
Yeah, I was kind of a blend. I officially disassociated. They announced me, but I didn't do a letter. I'm not doing this formal thing. It was really
Yeah.
just like, no, I'm done. So you guys, whatever you want to do. And they wanted to meet, and I said, no, I'm good. But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
Man, I remember you telling me when they were texting you about that.
yeah, they tried to get me to meet. I'm like, I know how this bullshit's gonna go. It's gonna
Yep.
be these back and forth meetings. It's gonna be just a waste of my time. And
Yep.
and I was like, this isn't something where I'm like asking for advice. I'm telling you, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, I got my announcement, a couple months later, and it went from there. But everyone has different reasons. Yeah, my specific life point at that time, it was just like either I'm in or I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not personally doing it both ways. I have tattoos. I have a beard at the time, which was
Yeah.
hilarious that now it's okay. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to start being myself. And I can't do that if I'm still technically in to the eyes of others. But I did ask you, like, for me, it's like, I couldn't do that where it's like, oh, my old buddy or whatever is like, maybe he's out, maybe he's in. It's like, and then if I talk with him or he wants to come visit, I'm like, oh, are we gonna go preach? Are we gonna go to the meeting? And that's it's going to be awkward, and
Yeah.
I couldn't live in that limbo zone, like,
Yeah.
and so for everyone that can, I totally get it, but me personally, I was like, either you're my true authentic friend and you know me for who I am and we can talk and philosophize about random shit, or we're not friends at all.
Yeah.
It's just
So to be clear, like my childhood friend that I'm talking about, he knows exactly where I stand. And I say exactly, he doesn't know about my book, but he knows where I stand as far as what that I don't believe it anymore.
that's good.
And that's like even my mom, like she obviously now because she knows about my book, but even before that, like I had multiple conversations with her. That was the only thing I didn't tell her was that I wrote this book. Like she knew that I didn't agree with it anymore. We've had multiple conversations about it. For me, staying in was more of I know they care about the technicality of me being, technically not disfellowship.
Yeah.
And in order to maintain the relationship, like to me, that was worth it. But I totally get where you're coming from too. I'm not that person. I'm not going to live a life where I pretend to be something I'm not. It actually kind of makes me upset that there's still some people out there that maybe think that I'm
Yeah.
Jealous with this.
I've done the same thing, man. I baited. I'm still on the books. I never
Yeah.
did a letter because I have a mom and sister,
Mm,
and I know it matters to them. So
And we've talked
yeah.
about it. We're very front facing, like our names, who we are,
Mm,
like we're out there doing this podcast, and it still comes with a weird level of, even though we've been out for years, I don't view myself as an apostate.
no, not at all.
yeah.
We're just speaking lived experiences and our own
Yep.
kind of truths of what we've kind of learned. And
Yep.
and the crazy thing is, I know that we probably are labeled to some people as apostate material, and it's like that just is crazy to think. But
Yeah.
the last person we had on, Dustin, we were talking about it, and it's like I'm not actively going anywhere to try to, lure witnesses in, like
I'm not allowed to talk about my life. Like,
you know,
hello.
it's like you're the one that clicked on this podcast, like
Yeah.
whether someone sent it to you, like, Derek's talking about this, like it's your choice to click on it, and whatever's going to happen, based on that. But yeah, I just think it's wild, the weird kind of two systems that we live in, the real world, and then, our former world,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
still kind of intersects. But I did want to ask you, Trent, did you have something you
Nope,
wanted to ask?
I'm good.
Um, I think it's really great that your mom and you must have a good relationship to be able to kind of, I don't know, like kind of live in this kind of gray area and still be okay with it. It does show
Yeah.
some of the love there that she has for you. And I'm sure it's conflicting
Yeah.
for her, and maybe there's a little bit of sadness on her end.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, my relationship with my mom, I've always been really close to her, like I was telling you guys before. I think ultimately it's just like you would expect from any mom where like you want to have a relationship with your kids. And I think I've done enough of a good job walking this
Yeah.
line for a couple years to kind of get her to this
Yeah.
point. Meaning if like the day I left, I was like, or the day I wrote this book, I was like, look, I wrote this book. It's Jehovah's fucking Witnesses and you need to read it and blah, blah, blah. Like she probably would have cut me off,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But because I kind of walked this line, I think I've kind of given her these breadcrumbs to follow where she's been able to hear my thought process on it and not just label me as an apostate or label me someone who's, evil or, overcome by Satan or something like that.
Yeah.
And because of the way I've gone about it, she's always had like an out, like meaning she's always had an excuse to be able to talk to me. Right. She's like, because I wasn't, disfellowshipped, it's like, oh, well, he's just spiritually weak. And that's why I can still talk to him. Maybe I can reach him or something, even though we don't talk about that
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I mean, we do, but it's not like in that way where she's like, you need to do this, we'll definitely debate about things, but like, she's not trying to convert me or get me to come back. And then even now about my book, I told her what I told you guys, where like to a certain extent, it was kind of therapeutic for me. And so in her mind, and these were her words, is that, well, if you felt, like you needed to do it because it was therapeutic for you, like I understand.
That's
Right. And so
great.
like I think in her mind, and I'm totally fine with this, but I think in her mind, she grabs on to like, what's the excuse for me to be able to
Yeah.
continue to have a relationship with my son?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. That's exactly what I want, right? I'm like, I love my mom. I want a relationship with her, and I'm glad that she's finding those things. But that's what I've noticed, right? Is like giving her, even though it's not
Yeah.
accurate, I've given her these reasons to continue to have a relationship with me and still be able to be an active Jehovah's Witness like she
Well,
is.
this is also some of the interesting stuff because, I know that most people listening in are going to be people that were former Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe
Mhm.
people that, grew up in some sort of high control group or cult and maybe can relate to some of these things. But there's also that subset of people that are listening. And it's like, what? What do you mean? Like, there's so much of this extra stuff
Yeah.
that we just kind of take for granted because that's the life we know.
Yeah.
But it's like you got to do all sorts of hoops and bullshit and stuff to do in order to maintain these relationships. And it's like, yeah, it sucks, but that's the hand we've been drawn.
Yeah. Well, and most people, if they don't have a relationship with their parent, like let's say outside of the religion, it's because there's some like real heavy shit between them that they haven't, been able to address. And with us, it's like, wait, you guys want to have your mom wants a relationship with you and you want a relationship with your mom, but you don't have one. It's like, yeah, she's not allowed.
Yeah,
Right? Like it's not allowed.
yeah. So I guess it worked out fairly well with all COVID and kind of moving away. That did actually help, you to kind of get to this situation.
Oh, totally. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I got to the point where I had to block the elder who was like our, book study overseer because he kept, checking and like he wanted to talk and blah blah blah. I was like, "No, we're good. Thank you."
I don't know if this is your guys' situation, but I always find like the elders and ministerial servants have Instagram accounts with like no photo, no
Yeah.
posts. It's like you're
Yeah.
just advertising that you're creeping, that you're just
Yep.
checking on people, you're just
True.
looking in on their lives. It's like you're not even using this account, for its intended purpose. I don't know. I just always found there was always more than one that were like that.
Mm.
And it's just like
Oh, totally.
stop already.
Oh yeah, you go and you look and it's like even on Facebook, it's just like, "Oh, you haven't posted since like 2009 or something." You're like, "I know why you're here, dude."
Yeah, still active, one photo. It's a creepy, weird
Exactly.
photo. Yeah. Yep. Um, so now you've written this book. It's been about a year and a half.
Yep, year and a half ago. I think it was
Um,
February of 24 that I released it.
have you had well, you've said it before, that process is a little therapeutic, not only for yourself, but also, for others reading. Do you have any kind of instances where maybe someone has reached out to you saying, thanks for writing this book, any kind of interactions online? Have you had any connections there?
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. Like I feel like I've had more people tell me that than first of all I can keep track of and second of all than I was expecting writing it. I have my email in the book because I'm like if it was helpful to you or you have any thoughts or anything like please reach out to me. And so every once in a while I get an email from someone saying, "Oh, I just read your book and it was so great and I felt like this and I could relate to XYZ that happened to you, whatever." And I have, just literally just the other day, I got a comment from someone saying, this was so cool actually. They're like, I haven't said anything before, but I read your book like a year ago and that was right when I was leaving. And it's been
Mm,
like super helpful in me healing. And now I don't even think about this stuff anymore, but like, I just wanted to tell you. And so yeah, I mean, like, that's like the whole reason I wrote the book and like why I want people to read it. And so like, it was actually it felt good for her to be like, oh yeah, it was like a year ago I read it. I just never said anything because my life is good now and I don't think about this stuff.
that's so great, man.
Yeah, no, it feels good. And I had also like people in my circle now who like would be described as worldly, right? But like my friends who I told that I was writing this book and I had them like they all read like advanced copies of it and things like that. So that was kind of a cool experience too cuz like they didn't know my whole story and everything that happened. And so yeah, I've gotten a lot of really good feedback about it. And what's funny is I would never like talk like this when I was a witness because like you got to be
Yeah.
humble. But now I'm just sitting here like, man, I'm so fucking proud of my book. Like seriously, I sat down and wrote my book in a week. I was like, I had an opportunity for like a week, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna write my book. And I sat down on my laptop and I wrote it. And it's not super long, but I literally wrote it like I just went through one time. I didn't even read it again and like edit it or anything like that.
Yeah.
But so many people have been like, "Man, it's such a good book." Like I couldn't put it down. And I know plenty of people who've read it in like a single sitting and maybe like 90 minutes or 2 hours or something like that. So it's not like super huge, but I'm really proud of it. I feel like it's a good story. You've heard some of my story already.
Yeah.
It's hard to butcher it. It's a good story I've had, but besides that, like I think the helpful stuff in there is actually really helpful. So
You talk about mental health in your book. and you do seem
Yeah.
so happy and like your life is amazing. So,
Thanks.
I mean, tell me about what you talk about in the book as regards to mental health and what you would recommend to somebody maybe leaving or who has left.
Sure. So part of the reason why I include in the subtitle talking about mental health is because I share about what happened with the two suicides that I was really close to. And I think it's important for people to understand that that's what some of this can lead to. Like, I don't know for sure what happened because neither of them left like a note or anything, but I do believe like her brother might have been closeted.
Mm,
And I think her dad felt guilty because he
Mm.
knew and maybe was like trying to suppress it for a long time on him. And also just how do you not feel guilty? Your kid commits suicide. You know what I mean? Like you got to
Yeah.
blame yourself as a parent. Not necessarily accurately, but I'm sure you would, you know. So anyway, that was part of the reason why I talk about mental health in there, but also when it comes to just moving on and living a good life and like you said, I am happy. There's a few things. I think first of all, I said this before that I don't have any regrets. I can look back and be like that was not a great decision. At the same time, I'm here today and I'm alive and I appreciate my life. And if you're able to get to that point, you will realize that you are only here today and who you are today because of all of the experiences that have made up your life up until this day. And as hard as it is, maybe in certain moments when things are really difficult and something, terrible is happening or something, that you're dealing with, your family's cut you off or something even bad, like what I said before about someone committing suicide. Yeah, those moments were really, really tough. But when you get to the point where your life is what you want it to be, you will have the appreciation for those experiences that you went through in shaping you who you are. And I will say, to actually get to that point, I think the appreciation has to come first. You have to be able to look at the experiences you've had. And it's not to say, oh, yeah, this was great. It's to say, okay, it happened, right? I'm accepting the fact that this is part of my history. There's literally nothing you can do to change it. And denying it keeps you stuck, just like we were talking about before. That's what's going to keep you angry. That's what's going to keep you, for lack of a better word, unhealed, right? If you want to heal and you want to move forward, you have to accept the past and to a certain degree embrace it and find a way to be able to appreciate it. Because for me, when I think about how happy I am right now, it's not just because there's so many things in my life that are going great, because they are. But I mean, there's times since I've left that things weren't going well, whether it was like financially or, health wise or
Yeah.
something, right? Like it doesn't just mean everything is perfect all the time. But to get to where I am now, I really do believe that it is about appreciation. If you can look at
what you just said helped me,
really,
honestly. Yeah. Kudos to you, man.
yeah. So I feel like appreciation is the key. Finding a way to appreciate what you've been through, but also looking at your life right now, and finding things to appreciate. I think is what has made me happy and what also has created and led to the life that I have. Now, obviously, there's so many more things I feel like, but if I had to narrow it down to one thing, I would say appreciation.
You know what? I'll say that I am a recovering alcoholic, and there's a point like 2.5 years ago where I had made so many decisions, and then I stopped making such bad decisions. And then the unfortunate thing is those stay with you, some of them. Decisions you make 4 or 5 years ago or in a certain state, just they stick with you even after. And so that's part of the sobriety path,
Mm-hmm.
is making your peace with that and appreciating what has brought you here and
Mm-hmm.
also walking forward. But
Mm-hmm.
what you said was just really helpful. Like the past is the past, and the only thing you can do is learn from it and walk forward.
Yeah. And ultimately, the only thing that exists is right now.
Yeah, staying in the moment.
The past already happened and the future hasn't happened yet. Like there is no point in living anywhere else except right now. And if you think about it, every single person in this moment right now,
Yeah.
you have everything you need. You're here, you're breathing, you're alive. Maybe you're listening to this podcast. Maybe you just ate a meal, whatever it is, right? Like you have in this very moment. I'm not saying, right, maybe you're like, oh, I'm in credit card debt. Cool. But like If you didn't know that and someone just took a snapshot of this moment of your life, would you be missing anything? No.
You guys can't see, but I've been nodding emphatically this whole time.
Right. And so that to me is like the thing, right? You have appreciation and you live in this moment.
I want to add too is I also have a mindset of being an active
Yes.
participant in your own life.
And managing your life.
One thing I wanted to ask you along the lines of, this horrible tragedy that happened to you with your first wife, and I guess I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. What would the version of you today say to your wife, knowing what you know now in that exact same horrible experience?
I think first of all, I make it a practice, like I said just before, to live now and not to, because in the past I used to go, if I could go back, how would I do it differently? And now I focus on now. But I do think it's a good question. I don't know if it's necessarily about what I would say as opposed to what I would do differently. And really what it is it's okay, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, there is a very clear black and white blueprint of how things are supposed to be. Okay. And when things don't match up to that, you judge it. So perfect example, right? When what was going on with her, her seeing her dad, I still don't know what that was. If that was just, some, grief hallucination or so, I don't even know, right? Or maybe she was actually seeing her dad. I have no idea, right? But in that moment, because of what she said did not match up to the black and white blueprint of what I was told it was supposed to be, I judged it. And if I could go back and do anything, it would be removing judgment from her. Because as soon as I discovered the details that I knew about her and what she had been participating in behind my back, and I mean, there was a lot to it. There was points where she had stolen from me, like money that I had helped. I had given her money to help her pay her rent, and it just never got, it never made it there, and she just used it for something else. I don't know, right? So there was a lot of things that even where I was a victim of some of the decisions she had made. But even with those decisions, if I could go back and do anything different, it would be to remove judgment from it.
That's good. That's powerful.
Because I do ultimately believe, see, this is the thing. The way we were raised, and also the way a lot of people are raised, even if it's not a high control group, and this is not again, a judgment of religion, because I'm not here to judge,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, right? When you are in a religion, you are taught that there is such thing as right and wrong. Okay. And it's a very clear line, black and white morality, right versus wrong. And I don't believe that anymore. And I don't mean that like there are, aren't things that would not be pleasant or whatever. But if I can look through my life and some of the bad things that have happened, quote unquote, bad things, and still have an appreciation for it, and it's part of what made me who I am today, which, as you said, I'm sitting here smiling and happy. Is it bad? Is it wrong? I don't know. I'm not saying it isn't. All I'm saying is that if I go and label things right and wrong,
Yeah.
that gives me permission to cast judgment on the people that do or do not do those things.
Or good and bad.
And yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good way to put it too. Good versus bad. And if I could go back, I wouldn't do that. I would not judge her, and I would be much more open to experiences, because that's where I'm at now. Like I've gone, and I don't know where you guys are at, but I think everyone kind of goes through this roller coaster of like, you leave and you go, I don't believe in God anymore. And well, maybe God does exist, but it's just not this, crazy cult version of it. And you know what? No, I don't think God exists. And maybe he does, but it's just impossible to know him.
Yeah.
And maybe we're in a simulation, and I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And you go through all of these like
Yeah,
things of what it could
yeah.
potentially be.
Well, it's built into us we need to find like the purpose, and we need to find, what is this
Yes.
life container all about? We need to
Yes.
kind of put it into something. And so it's funny that you mentioned that, because again, to all the listeners, like Josh and I have never met. Like, we don't, we've messaged online, but there's a very similar understanding trajectory of like, we all kind of go through these things. Some people stop
Absolutely.
and go, okay,
Yes.
this is where I feel comfortable in my progress. And some people choose to just to continue on. I do believe, though, some people go too far.
Okay.
And they go to this kind of insanity path, where that's a whole nother conversation. They dive down conspiracy theory rabbit holes. They need to find meaning and purpose, and so they they get on the dark webs and they get to this place where it's like, I need meaning for
Yeah.
everything. And so therefore I need to know how JFK was assassinated, and I need to know how
Oh
is Elvis
God.
still alive, and are there portals in Area 51? And it's just like,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother funny topic, but it's
No, you see, you know what the thing about it is? As a Jehovah's Witness, you are taught that there is objective
sure.
truth and that you have it. This is the truth. And so I think it's tough for us sometimes to get out of it and then not get to a point where we're like, well, I need to figure out exactly what it is so I can find something to latch
Hmm.
onto, because that's what it was, right? We had this like pillar almost in our life that was like, this is the truth and this, and I have it. And to me, honestly, I believe one of the keys is being able to admit that you will never have
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
because nobody does, man. Nobody knows for
I think you need
sure.
to be comfortable with knowing that you've jumped out of the plane and you don't have a parachute. Enjoy the ride until you get to the bottom.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know?
No, I mean, that's really what it is. Nobody can ultimately 100% know for sure everything about the true nature of reality, what happens when we
Yeah.
die, the point of everything, whatever.
I think the point for myself that I settled on was that the questions. I think that that's the purpose of living, is just to have these sentient questions and ponder them.
And explore. Yeah, I love that. Very true.
Yeah. So moving forward with you, you've said that you have some other kind of literary work that you're producing. Maybe not necessarily in the same kind of realm, but
Yeah, yeah. If anyone listening might not, I don't know if we address this or not, but Josh is not my actual name; it's a pen name, and I address it in the book, so it's not like a secret that I have a pen name. I wrote it in under that pen name for obvious reasons. I feel like based on what we've already talked about, I didn't want to get disfellowshipped. I didn't
sure.
want this stuff to happen, but now I'm at a point where I feel like I could. Right? I like I told you, the biggest reason why I didn't use my real name is because I didn't want to jeopardize my relationship with my mom. That was the most important thing to me. And I will say, actually, maybe more important than this was my wife was not where I in the same spot that I was, like I said. And so she wasn't ready to be completely open. Now I'm actually at a point where I could be open. And, I'm like, you know what? I kind of like doing it under this pen name. It's kind of fun
Yeah.
to have this little like alter ego thing going on where
Yeah.
I talk about all this stuff. And so, yeah, well, and I have other things that I, am working on under my actual name, and I do enjoy like helping people. That's really, if I had to sum up all of the other projects I have going on under my real name, that really is what it's about. It's about like being able to help other people. And I will say though, I love talking about this stuff. And I've been on a few podcasts and it's been fantastic. I've had really great conversations. I spoke actually at an ex-Mormon event, because they're so similar. I don't know how connected you guys have been to to ex-Mormons, but I always say it's like Coke and Pepsi.
Oh yeah.
And that's so I was able to speak at one of those events. I really enjoyed that. Part of the reason why I wanted to be an elder so bad was to give public talks. And then when I got appointed as a servant, I realized the outline is full to the brim, so you can't even make it your own. You're basically just saying what they tell you to say. So I really enjoy speaking about it as well. And yeah, I've been promoting my book a lot more lately, and I hope people read it and enjoy it and feel like it's benefited them. That's the best I could ask for.
Yeah, I think it's a labor of love. It's a project. Yeah, and then for us personally, like, the goal for us is to get the message out there in any way, shape, or form, both through Trent and I continuing to talk about our shared experience, but talking with others that have been through similar things. And so that's why we always look forward to having other people on here to have a true, kind of honest, kind of vulnerable chat. And I think we accomplished that today. Yeah, I'm really, really grateful for coming on, man, and just kind of chatting about your experience.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation. Seriously, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I guess to close out, is there maybe anything maybe we didn't touch on that you just really want to hope that we kind of talk about? And then, of course, just kind of closing out with where people can find you online and how to purchase your book.
It's really good to have you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can't tell by now, right? Like I always want to share something positive, and I think what we had touched on about appreciation, if there's like one message I could share with people is like find things in your life to appreciate, because the more you appreciate, the more you'll find to appreciate, and your life will appreciate as well. So I will. That's what I'll share as my final message. But if anyone wants to get my book, it's called Jehovah's Fucking Witnesses: A Book for Adults About Religious Trauma, Mental Health, and How to Move On by Josh B. Morton. It's on Amazon. I'm on TikTok and Instagram at
Ooh,
Josh B Morton. Yeah, that's all of it.
Yeah, and we'll put a link into all your kind of socials and everything in the podcast notes.
Great.
And then I guess we have no choice now. We'll have to have your wife on next. Get the whole family on.
Oh
Uh,
dear. She's not anywhere near as open as I am about this.
she's not ready. Yeah, yeah. That's so funny. It's so true. You have to be in
And
the
it's
right
totally
place.
okay. Yeah, that was part of that journey, was
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
learning that it was like it's okay if we're in a different spot. I think
Hmm.
actually that was part of what brought me to the space of like not having judgment. Because it was easy to be like, well, but why aren't you like ready for this or why aren't you ready for that? And I had to get
It's
to a point where I'm like, I accept
I totally get it,
100%
man.
where you're at,
And I've talked about it. It took me 5 years to get to this point to start this podcast up. So I totally get it, with whatever it comes with. Putting yourself out there online and being vulnerable, saying the wrong things, angering some people, pleasing others, but
yeah.
just it's all part of the cocktail of what comes with it. So again, we really appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking time with us today to chat, and hopefully the listeners really resonated with you and your message. And maybe if needed, when you write something else or want to come back on, we look forward to having you.
Yeah. Thanks again so much for having me.
All right, thanks.
Good to have you, man. Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.